What is going on, everyone? It's AxelBeats here for AnimeUproar, and we are steadily approaching December when the Jujutsu Kaisen movie will be released. And honestly, I'm still on a high from the amazing visuals from the Demon Slayer movie, so I'm pretty excited for this one as well. Today though, I'm going to be covering Jujutsu Kaisen 0, which is the manga series that the movie will be based on. I'm going to try and focus on the main events and major characters. This way, when you go to see the movie, there's still plenty of fun things to look forward to that you won't have spoiled for you. That said, if you are trying to go into the movie with a fresh look with no information, you've been warned. If you enjoy this video though and want to see more Jujutsu Kaisen content on this channel, or you just can't wait for the movie like me, be sure to hit that like button, and if you're new here, or if you just haven't subscribed yet, be sure to click that bell down below to subscribe to AnimeUproar so you can be sure that you don't miss any of our new videos. Finally, you can also follow AnimeUproar on Twitter and Instagram at AnimeUproar, or you can follow myself at AxelBeats. But with all that out of the way, let's get into Jujutsu Kaisen 0. Jujutsu Kaisen 0 is a prequel or prelude to the full story of Jujutsu Kaisen, and this story begins with two children, a young girl named Rika and a young boy named Yuta. As many kids do, these two do that cute thing where they promise to get married one day, and Rika even gives Yuta an engagement ring. However, this is very short-lived, as we jump forward in time to see that she's been ran over by a car and that her head has been crushed. Her body starts to morph into a curse, and she starts to say, "Yuta, once we become adults, we'll get married, it's a promise." And with that, her cursed spirit bound itself to Yuta. From here, Yuta's life becomes a living nightmare. The cursed Rika acts to protect him without his control, and starts to even hurt those around him. As a result, Yuta starts to keep to himself, becoming shy and quiet. However, this unfortunately leads to him being bullied. We only really see one example of this, but it's pretty gruesome. Yuta begs for the bully to stop for his own safety, but the bully just ignores him, and as he goes on to harass Yuta, Rika emerges and crams the bully as well as 3 other children all inside one locker. And it really does seem like she would have to play a lot of Tetris with their bodies to make them fit. This, believe it or not, draws attention to Yuta, and leads us to the first scene of Jujutsu Kaisen 0, where he's brought into a room with Gojo very similar to how Yuji had been in the main series. As Gojo enters, he finds a knife that is bent and mangled, and Yuta explains that he tried to end his own life, but Rika just won't let him. He is terrified of hurting others, and committed himself to isolation since he can't end his own life. Gojo asks if he's going to be lonely by himself, and instead asks if he'd rather come and learn how to control Rika instead of just throwing his life away. And with that, Yuta joins the Jujutsu school in a very similar fashion to how Yuji had. He's brought to meet his classmates, who end up being Toge, Panda, and Maki, and the second that the door opens, all 3 of them pick up on Rika and launch to their feet ready to attack. Luckily, Gojo is able to calm them down though before Rika emerges to kill them, something which in true Gojo fashion, he forgot to warn them of. Yuta, again, just like Yuji, is set up with a partner to go on his first mission, again dealing with some missing children from a school that suspects curses are to blame. He and Maki arrive to clear out the curses, most of whom are small fries, which makes this a great first mission for him. We also briefly go into curse grades, where we learn that Yuta is one of only 4 special grade sorcerers along with Gojo. Which, I mean, you saw Rika, that checks out to me. We don't really get too much time to focus on this though, as a massive curse appears, throwing both of them into the air and swallowing them. Inside the curse's stomach, they find the missing children, and we see Maki's leg is wounded and festering with curse energy. She asks Yuta why he joined the school in the first place, and he said that he wanted to gain confidence and feel like he's allowed to live. And she tells him that if he wants to gain confidence, then he needs to do things that mean something. For example, defeating curses, and now is the time to act. He calls upon Rika for the first time intentionally, and the monstrous curse easily defeats the gigantic enemy. Even Gojo is thrown off by Rika's power. The cursed girl smiles and asks Yuta if he loves her, only to notice that he is gone and carrying Maki to Gojo for help. Along the way, the human form of Rika, minus the top half of her head, appears behind him to cheer him on. Yuta begins to remember more of what happened and starts to think that maybe Rika wasn't the one to curse him, but instead it might be the other way around. And Gojo says it's unclear, but love is the most twisted curse of all, so anything is possible. And here Yuta vows to release Rika from her curse. Meanwhile, much like the higher-ups are against Yuji, it seems they're also against Yuta as well. And again, we see Gojo taking a guardian role, vouching for Yuta. He says that it's better to let him live so they can learn from Rika, as she's a very unique case. In honesty, while Gojo might be interested in this to some degree, he is more interested in making sure that no one's youth is wasted or taken from them, regardless of the situation. As Gojo leaves, one of the higher-ups warn him that the execution of Yuta is only on hold, and Gojo responds, "If it comes to that, I will side with Yuta," with one of the most terrifying glances that he's ever given. Yuta starts training with Maki, which is probably one of the best teachers you can have, and Gojo gives him a katana so that he can learn to use Rika's power, pouring small amounts of it into the blade at a time to practice as he learns to slowly undo the curse. This leads into a pretty fun set of training sessions with Maki, and of course, Panda asking Yuta if he likes big or small boobs to see if Maki has a chance. It's a really light, fun, and wholesome section, but it isn't long before another mission pops up and Gojo sends Toge to deal with it, asking Yuta to join and watch so he can learn. That said, he is given the warning not to let Rika out, because if he does, everyone will likely die, which is the closest I've ever seen to Gojo admitting that someone else might be stronger than him. The expectation in general for this mission was a lot of curses to be present, but for them to be fairly weak. Most of them were pretty easy for Toge to take out all at once, that is, until a much more powerful curse arrives. Toge originally wants to take him on himself, but Yuta steps up and wanted to help. He starts to approach the curse, and Rika is in full horror rage mode. He channels her into his katana, and we see him moving around in a confident and fast-paced way, which really shows off how much his training is paying off. Even with that though, he just still isn't strong enough yet. Despite that, he does manage to create an opening for Toge, and together they are able to take this monster down. This extra strong curse wasn't just a random occurrence though, as the next panel shows Geto, who seems to have released it into this area intentionally. Speaking of Geto, we get a look at his perspective and his plans. In particular, we have a few scenes with him demonstrating how he views non-sorcerers as monkeys who are either to supply him with money or cursed spirits, and if they can't get him either of those, they might as well die. In fact, his overall plan is just to wage a war where they will annihilate all non-sorcerers, and he isn't alone in this. He has a whole group that he calls his family who are in it with him. Finally, we also get a look at how his abilities work, with him having a black ball that he can use to absorb or release demons, essentially like a cursed Pokemon master. He soon after this arrives at the school to confront Yuta, asking him to join their cause. He ultimately wants to kill Yuta to take his cursed Rika. Unfortunately though, he made the mistake of insulting Maki, which upsets Yuta to the point of knocking Geto away. He then explains that he can't help anyone who would belittle his friends. Gojo then asks Geto why he's even here, and Geto explains that he's declaring war, explaining that on December 24th he will march 1,000 cursed spirits onto Shinjuku to kill every non-sorcerer. Finally, the day of the war arrives, and while Maki and Yuta are at the school, everyone else seems to have gone to Shinjuku. The pair has a bit of time to talk, and Maki explains that she is considered a failure because she has no cursed energy. So her goal is to become a powerful sorcerer, go back home, and see their faces when she proves them wrong. Which to Yuta is an inspiration, saying that he wants to live as strongly as she does. Which if it wasn't for the ending of this manga would be enough to make me start shipping these two together, as she gets very flustered for being accepted. We don't get to focus on this too much though, as Geto arrives at the school and places a curtain around it. The whole explanation for an attack on Shinjuku was just set up to get everyone else away from Yuta, and it worked. Gojo realizes what is happening, and he sends Toge and Panda back to the school with some warp ring that he made on the floor, hoping that they can help against Geto as he takes everyone else on here. And together, Maki, Panda, and Toge totally take Geto down and save the day, by which I mean that they get absolutely rocked and Geto wins with little to no effort. Yuta arrives and finds his friends laid out on the ground, sending him into an absolute rage and calling Rika to battle, as both he and Geto say that they will kill each other. The battle kicks off and Rika grabs Maki, however it seems like Yuta is able to control her much better now as he calls her off. What's interesting is seeing Rika's reaction to this, immediately apologizing on repeat and begging Yuta not to be mad at her as she starts crying. He calms her down and instead sends her to fight Geto as he starts to heal Maki. Once Maki is safe, He asks Rika to follow his movements, and it's an all-out battle. Geto has tons of curses everywhere, so Rika summons a megaphone with Toge's curse ability imbued into it, and Yuta calls out telling them all to die. From here they swap to a hand-to-hand fight, and it is wild. Everything is incredibly fast-paced until Yuta's sword breaks, and before Geto can finish talking down to him, Yuta lands a massive punch. Pushed into a corner, Geto decides to pull out all of the stops. He summons an imaginary vengeful spirit, and then combines all of his nearly 4,500 other curses into one abomination. Yuta too makes his next move, as he turns to Rika and hugs her. He thanks her for protecting him and asks her to lend her power one more time, promising to give his life to her after this battle so that they can be together forever. He says he loves her, they kiss, and Rika basically evolves, calling out how much she loves him. Together they fire off one final blast and wipe Geto's curses out entirely. Geto is insanely injured at this point, but he manages to get away from the fight where he is found by Gojo. Geto laughs, saying that he essentially sent Panda and Toge to their death. However, Gojo says that he just simply trusted Geto to not kill young sorcerers, so he knew that Panda and the others would most likely be safe. However, in general, Geto is just too far gone, and Gojo is forced to kill his ex-friend. Meanwhile, Yuta is just waking up, and Rika's cursed form begins to fade away, leaving just the young girl he once knew. Gojo arrives and explains that he looked into Yuta's ancestry, and he found out that they're actually distant cousins, which explains why Yuta's cursed energy is just so strong. And from here, we learn what truly happened when Rika died. It wasn't Rika who cursed Yuta, but instead, the love-struck Yuta rejected her death, and in an attempt to save her, he demands that she not die, thus creating a contract where she would serve him as cursed Rika. However, now that the one who established the curse had revoked the master and servant status that was originally put in place to keep her around, and now that Rika clearly doesn't want to punish him for doing so, they are both totally free. Yuta begins breaking down as he realizes everything was his fault. He transformed her into a monster, and he made her hurt people. However, Rika just hugs him and thanks him for all of the extra time that they had together, because the last few years, even given the circumstances, were the best that she's ever had because she could be so close to him. She says her final goodbye and tells him to be well, only asking that he not come to the other side too quickly and to enjoy his life, as her body fades away into balls of light that float into the sky. And that heartbreaking ending is where Jujutsu Kaisen 0 comes to an end. I am so excited for this movie. There are a ton of characters I didn't really get to go into here who are super fun or super dark that will be great on the big screen, but most of all, I know that this is going to bring me to absolute tears when they get to the end of the movie and turn me into a massive crying baby. Some things that I really like in this story are all the obvious parallels between Yuta and Yuji. Also, I really like the chemistry between Maki and Yuta, even if I kinda hope they don't get together because of Rika. That said, I am very excited for a Maki and Yuta reunion now that she has gone through the whole Zenin extermination thing. This clearly isn't the way that she meant to do things when they talked in the classroom, so I would love to see Yuta's reaction to that. It should all be pretty damn interesting. But I would love to hear what you guys think on the subject, as well as if you're excited for the movie. If you guys enjoyed this Jujutsu Kaisen video and want to see more, please leave a like, and if you're new to AnimeUproar, remember to subscribe and ring the bell. Of course, you can also follow AnimeUproar at AnimeUproar on Twitter or Instagram, or you can follow myself at AxelBeats. I want to give a big thank you to all of our patrons over on Patreon who allow videos like this to be possible, especially the patron of legend, the one who's acknowledged by Lord Twigo himself, Alpha Sigma. As well are the 1-tier patrons, the ones who stand above all clans, Ingrata, Patehefa, Aljatal, Hinokami and Water, The Toasted Chi, The Spike 8227, Corey McGowan, Dylan Isidore, Spidey Life Tanel, Tungsten Tarkus, Baked Buddhist, Cody Hebert, and Monkey D. Quilly. Finally, our Pro Hero tier patrons, Gilgamesh, The Red-Haired Raven, Anel Cruz, Rathwin De Ora, Very Gucci, Alicia Octor, Bonnie Parks, Joanne Garcia, Ted No Ted, Fatboy Games, and Soulrise Slice and Dice. If you enjoy our work, or maybe think we just offer a little bit of extra enjoyment in your day-to-day life, please consider going to patreon.com/AnimeUproar and supporting the channel. For as little as $1, you will get your name featured in future videos, as well as have access to our exclusive patron-only Discord. You can also join the YouTube channel by clicking that blue join button next to the subscribe option, but whichever way you support us, you will get these same great benefits. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, stay excellent.